I surveyed over 2,000 travelers to uncover their biggest travel frustrations. And the top answer by far was costs and hidden fees that make your trip way more expensive than expected. Sure, it's easy to plan for big expenses like airfare and lodging, but there are a number of other sneaky costs travelers always seem to forget.
Boy, you kind of snuck up on me there.
I am very, very sneaky, sir.
I see that.
And in this video, I'm going to break them down one by one so you can be more prepared and so that at the end of your trip, there's no surprises when you check your bank account or your credit card statement. Let's dive in. Bag fees can hit your wallet hard, from the cost of checking a bag, often $30 to $75 each way, to overweight luggage fees, which can range from $50 to $200 per bag. This is entirely avoidable with a little preparation, and there's a couple of different options here. One is easy, one is a little bit trickier. The kind of tricky one is to just pack lighter. My opinion, most travelers bring way more than they actually need, and almost anyone, if you're physically able of course, can travel with just one carry-on size suitcase or backpack. And this doesn't just save money, it reduces stress by minimizing the amount of stuff you're responsible for. But I know that's not for everyone, and so if you do check a bag, make sure to at least weigh it before leaving home to avoid surprises and unnecessary fees. Use a lightweight luggage scale that costs about $10, or step on your home scale while holding your bag. If you're close to the limit, swap some items into a personal item bag, or even wear some of your heavier items on the plane. Here's one I always forget until the last minute. Traveling means leaving your house and possibly your pets behind, and the cost of ensuring that they're cared for can really sneak up on you. Pet sitters typically charge anywhere from $15 to $50 per drop-in, or $50 to $100 per night for live-in care. Over a week-long trip, these costs can easily add hundreds of dollars to your travel budget. I've personally used platforms like Rover for years, and it's been a game changer. Not only does it offer flexibility and a range of options, but I've also built long-term relationships with a few providers I trust, and we've worked out rates that we're both happy with. You could look into platforms like Trusted House Sitters, which connects you with house sitters who often care for pets in exchange for free accommodation. It's a win-win if you're comfortable having someone stay in your home, of course, especially for longer trips. It could also be a great way for you to get cheap lodging abroad. It works both ways. Another very lame expense is paying unnecessary data roaming fees while traveling. We all rely on our phones for a lot these days. They're an essential travel tool. But you need some kind of plan to avoid roaming fees, or you're gonna pay out the wazoo. Sure, you could upgrade to your home carrier's international plan, but I find that those are often really pricey. Or you could buy a local SIM card at your destination, but that can be a hassle, and in some places they're even prone to scams. That's why my preferred solution is an eSIM. It's like a SIM card, but better. There's no physical card, no trips to a store, and no awkward conversations in a foreign language. You just download, install, and you're good to go. My go-to eSIM is Olafly, which offers eSIMs in over 200 destinations with no roaming fees. A 10-day Europe plan with Olafly costs just under $37 versus over $100 with my home carrier. Unlimited data, no caps, and most importantly, no hidden fees. With Olafly's app, setup takes just a couple minutes. Keep your trip simple and affordable. Grab your Olafly eSIM now and use the code AWAYTOGETHER for 5% off. Big thanks to Olafly for sponsoring today's video. Airport parking can feel like an afterthought until you're hit with the cost. Long-term parking rates at major airports often rival the price of a low-cost flight, sometimes exceeding $20 to $30 per day. And so for a week-long trip, that's easily over $200. I'm not joking, I've had multiple trips where I paid for my flights and hotel with points, so literally my parking was the most expensive thing of the entire trip. The solution is plan ahead. Check for off-site parking lots, which often provide shuttles and cost significantly less. Apps like Spot Hero or ParkWiz can help you compare prices and reserve a spot in advance. Better yet, say you have a friend or family member could drop you off, or use a rideshare service for a hassle-free start to your trip. Hey, if you've gotten value out of this video, please hit that like button so that YouTube knows to suggest it to other travelers like you. Thanks. Expensive airport crap. Airports are notorious for price gouging. $5 for a bottle of water, $15 for a mediocre sandwich, $20 for a charging cable that you forgot at home. All these little expenses add up, but they're really avoidable. bring snacks from home, pack an empty water bottle to fill after security, and double check your carry-on for your essentials, your charging cable, your headphones, etc. The other thing I'll add is if you have lounge access through a credit card or maybe status with your airline, take advantage of the free food, drinks, and everything else they've got in there. When traveling full-time on a really tight budget, my wife and I on travel days made it a point to eat at least one of our meals for the day in the airport lounge, if not multiple. Some of the sneakiest travel expenses are buried in the fine print. Resort fees are a prime example. These are mandatory charges that hotels tack on for amenities like Wi-Fi, pool access, fitness centers, even if you never use them. These can range from $25 to $50 per night and even more, which really adds up over the course of an entire trip. So how can you avoid them? Well, number one, read the fine print before booking. Check if resort fees are included in the rate that you're seeing. You can also choose hotels that don't charge resort fees in the first place. If you're already at the hotel, of course, try negotiating, right? If throughout your stay you didn't use the amenities that the fee supposedly covers, mention that at checkout. You'd be surprised how often hotels are willing to waive or reduce the fee, especially if you had any issues during your stay that you can bring up. And one more tip, if you're part of a loyalty program, that could save you too. Many hotel chains waive resort fees for their elite members. Now, I also want to mention single supplements because those came up frequently in our survey as well. If you're traveling alone, you might get charged extra for staying in a room that's priced for double occupancy, especially when you're on tours, which can add 25 to 50% or more to the cost of your stay. But there are ways to avoid this. There are tour operators and hotels that offer deals specifically for solo travelers. You could always share a room if you're on a group trip, or if you're traveling completely solo and you're flexible with your schedule, traveling during off-peak times can make a big difference. If demand is lower, hotels and tours might be more willing to waive fees. Probably the kings of fine print and extra charges, rental cars. Rental cars are a convenient way to explore, but they come with their own set of sneaky fees. Fuel surcharges, tolls, insurance. They can all inflate the cost of your trip if you're not careful. First, insurance. Rental companies love to upsell you on coverage, but you might already have what you need, especially if you've got a decent travel credit card. I'm going to link a list of my favorites for rental coverage below. And just know that to use your credit card's coverage, you'll need to pay for the rental with that card and decline the agency's damage waiver. Next, big fuel surcharges. If you return a car without a full tank of gas, rental companies charge you their own inflated rate to refill it, so just make sure you always return with a full tank. Lastly, always double check your rental agreement for hidden fees. Things like extra charges for additional drivers or certain drop-off locations can really bite into your budget. One of the easiest ways to blow your travel budget is by paying unnecessary fees when accessing or spending money abroad. Whether you're withdrawing cash from an ATM or paying with a card at a restaurant, there are a few pitfalls to watch out for. When you need cash, avoid using airport currency exchanges or independent ATMs. They usually offer terrible conversion rates and high fees. Instead, I would use an ATM at a bank, ideally during banking hours, in case something goes wrong with the machine. Now, what about paying with a card? Whether at a store or a restaurant, you might be asked if you'd like to pay in your home currency instead of the local currency, and you should always choose the local currency. This avoids what's called dynamic currency conversion, which is absolute nonsense. And the other thing I will add about credit cards is you want to make sure you're using a card that has no foreign transaction fees. If you want more tips on how to pay for things while traveling internationally, be sure to check out this next video where I go into way more detail. Thanks so much for watching. Happy travels.